Shalom, welcome to Rob on the Rock. I'm Rob Van Hoff, and I have two scriptures I want to look at today. One from Galatians 3, the other from Genesis 12. And they pertain to what does it mean to be in Messiah, to belong to Him, and what does that have to do with Abraham? Let's take a look. So the first verse we're going to look at here is Galatians 3 at the very end. If you are Messiah's, then you are Abraham's seed, heirs according to the promise. So the first question is, do you belong to Messiah? And if so, that's good news. There's more to it. It means you're reckoned before God as being part of the covenant promise to Abraham. Do you know who Abraham is? Are you familiar with the promise? What does this mean? Well, you can go back and read in the Torah all about Abraham and his offspring and what is God's covenant with Abraham. And it all begins in Genesis chapter 12, where God calls Avram at this time out of the land of Ur of the Chaldeans to bring him to the promised land. And he tells Abraham, among all these things, that I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. You be a blessing. And then he says, in you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. This is the core seed of the gospel, as Paul tells us elsewhere, but it is the core promise of what it means to be in Messiah. If you belong to Messiah, then the blessings of Abraham are yours. They are your birthright. They are the content that defines who your soul is in this world. It's your core orientation to God is abiding in the blessing of the covenant that God made with Abraham. And the only way to participate in that blessing is to be in Messiah. So as Paul says, if you belong to Messiah, then you are Abraham's seed and you are an heir according to the promise. So this is good news for believers to dive into the Word of God and to learn, what does it mean that there's a promise here? What does it mean that I'm an heir to this promise? What does it mean that I'm reckoned before God as the seed of Abraham? And what does it mean that I belong to Messiah, that I am not my own? These questions all touch on identity. While we're in this world here, what do I identify with as myself? What does it mean to be a new creation? What does it mean to differentiate my new life in Messiah as I belong to Him from the old man with all its bad habits? And how do I nourish the new man and grow in maturity into the fullness of the blessing that God has for each one of those who belong to Yeshua? Shalom.